Well, he has made a career out of telling the stories of some of the most famous people in the world.
But Madison's most famous author, David Maraniss, has an interesting story of his own, as we see in tonight's installment of The Conversation with our own Susan Siman.
He's been trekking across the world on his latest book tour, but David Maraniss always finds his way back to one of his favorite places on Earth. How big of an influence was Madison, or is Madison, on your life and career, do you think?
It's our homeland, you know, in every possible way. I mean, we love to come back. We bought a house to come back here 10 years ago and spend our summers here. And it's just a really easy place, and Washington is sort of one-dimensional and all based on status, and Madison is not like that. And so
David just completed his 10th book, a 600-page memoir of President Barack Obama. Well, you have a reputation for doing exhaustive research when you do books like this. How did you even begin? Did you call his relatives, go through his yearbooks? How do you do that?
You know, people always use the word exhaustive, which makes me tired. For a lazy guy, you know, I do work a lot. But no, how I start is by reading everything I can, and then from that point, after I've read it, say I know nothing. I have to start from scratch. My motto is go there, wherever there is. And so I went to all the places of their lives.
David's other work, for which he's won a Pulitzer Prize, include 2 books about President Clinton, a look at the Vietnam era in Madison in the 60s in They Marched into Sunlight, and bestsellers on Roberto Clemente and Packer legend Vince Lombardi. Are some of them more fun than others, or some less work than others?
Yeah, I was a little bit afraid that the Packers of my childhood would turn into be jerks, and they really weren't, so that was nice. Every one of my books, I mean, it's sort of like having grandchildren, which I have. You know, I don't like to choose between them. I find some joy in every one.
Tell me a little bit about you growing up here in Madison.
I grew up at 1619 Regent Street, which was a great house in a wonderful University Heights neighborhood that's now a student slum, basically. The house is not what it used to be, but it was a fabulous place to grow up. It was a block from the field house and the stadium. As a kid, I spent most of my derelict youth sneaking into basketball and football games.
David graduated from Madison West High School in 1967 and studied journalism at UW-Madison. He learned writing as an apprentice in the family trade.
My dad was a newspaper man. He was the editor of the Capital Times in his final years. When I was a kid, he was the city editor. My mother was a book editor at the University of Wisconsin Press.
So it's in your DNA.
It's in my DNA, and I was the dumb kid in my family. My older brother and sister were both scholars, and my little sister was a classical pianist. So I was the one who followed my dad into journalism.
David has worked for the Washington Post since 1977, and at 63 is still going strong as an associate editor. But his favorite job these days is dad and grandfather. This is your wife?
Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. We got to meet some of his family by accident when his wife of 43 years, Linda, walked by with one of their 3 grandchildren. Well, if I was going to write a book about you and your life, what would I call it?
Screw up makes good somehow. I don't know. I mean, I
feel like you've been lucky.
Or unlucky, yeah, because I'm really basically can't do much but write. You know, I don't know how to change a light bulb. I mean, I'm lucky I found what I love to do.
Yeah.
So that's, and you know, I worked hard to get to where I am now, but a lot of it is just sort of going after what I love, you know, and that usually makes the difference.
And so impressive, too. As for his next project, David is going to do a 2nd volume of President Obama, but not for a few years. The Lombardi play still continues, and David does have involvement with that as well.